Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walahu amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we continue on the 23rd hadith within the series, we have the hadith that Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates, which is found in At-Tirmidhi and is declared sahih and is also in Sahih al-Jami'. This hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Man 'ada maridan أو زار أخ له في الله ناداه مناد أن طبت وطاب ممشاك وتبوأت من الجنة منزلا." A very simple yet very beautiful hadith, subhanallah. The Prophet ﷺ, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, he taught that whoever visits a person that is ill, or that they visit their brother in Islam for the sake of Allah, that a caller then calls out to that person saying, "Tibta." And this comes from the Arabic verb of taba, which means basically goodness, wholesomeness, and in this sense really blessedness, really. Tibta, may you be good, may you be blessed. Wa taba mamshak, and may your steps that you have taken also be good and count for goodness and also be blessed. And وَتَبَوَّأْتَ, tabawwa'a from the Arabic, basically to take, as we have within the Quran, the ayah, with regards to Allah Azza wa Jal telling Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, with regards to the Kaaba, to take that place to build the Kaaba. We have Allah Azza wa Jal telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us in this hadith that the third thing with which this caller is saying is, "And may you take for yourself a house in paradise." Let's look at it in more depth, inshallah. Whoever visits the sick. So we know that visiting the sick is something that the Prophet ﷺ in other ahadith and other prophetic narrations tells us that it is from the rights of the sick person upon those who are healthy that they be visited. Excuse me. So it is from the right of the person who is sick that the rest of the community members of their brothers that know, and their sisters in that sense, that who know this person is sick, that they visit them. When we look at this, we're talking about a right of what the Prophet ﷺ is teaching that has a really significant purpose in it. When we're talking about these practices, let's not look at them just as some type of dry laws or rules of what's obligations and what's accountability and responsibility. No. Let's look at it and put some meaning in it. Add to it those qualities that help to nurture within us the spirituality and the emotions. This is from the acts that helps to foster the bonds of brotherhood and of sisterhood. When a person who is sick, naturally they're not going to be able to function in a way that they were able to prior to that. Perhaps the person, because of that, is not able to work. And because of that, depending on what type of lifestyle they live, if they were a farmer type person who's living in that type of a land and they can't take care of their land and they can't take care of their cattle and animals and things of that sort, whether it's a businessman, they may not be able to go to work and therefore perhaps their shop or store or who knows what of trade and that stuff gets held back. The family is impacted because perhaps, especially in the case of when we're talking about back then, where income was a daily thing. There was no at the end of the week paycheck or end of the month paycheck or bi-weekly paycheck, whatever the case is. The person and everyone who had a relationship with them, they were impacted. The Prophet ﷺ is teaching the believers to be concerned for them. So when they visit the person, they are demonstrating that there is this unity, this bond of brotherhood, of sisterhood, that is the glue to the fabric of the social aspects of society that really help to build a strong community in the way that was the case with the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim. So there's that aspect, but then when the visiting takes place, naturally there's that sense of bringing happiness into the heart of the person, because they feel and see that people do care about me, that they're here to see me, they're here to visit me. They're here to also at the same time inquire about me. They're here to make dua for me. And the dua, inshaAllah, is something that's sincere and it's from their heart, and hopefully Allah Azza wa Jal, who is the source of healing, that He will put blessings within those prayers and the person will feel better and will recuperate and perhaps inshaAllah be cured and healed within a quicker time, a shorter time. And at the same time to see what can we do for you. Perhaps in this case, maybe a meal needs to be prepared so that the family can eat. Perhaps the garden needs to be watered or taken care of, and whatever it may be of different things. Maybe the house needs to be, put into order because the person never know. Maybe they're single, maybe they're not. Maybe they have, kids, maybe they don't. So all of these different dynamics, they're put into perspective when there's that personal touch of a visit that takes place. SubhanAllah, that concern also for those who are in a state of weakness. And being sick definitely puts a person in that state of being weak and of being needy. And it is, again, that exemplifying of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, as he would visit the sick, he would inquire about them, and so on and so forth. But there's one thing for us to pay attention to. If you are a member from the community, from the masjid, and you're a familiar face, and people see you on a regular basis, it's a lot easier for them to recognize that you're not there to be missed and to inquire about you, such that they can find out that you're sick, that you're here or there, or whatever the case is. I want to give two pieces of advice. One is that if you are a person that, alhamdulillah, is a regular ongoer to the masjid, or a comer to the masjid, etc., and you're sick, and perhaps you're at a hospital, do let them know that when you go into the hospital, to tell them that I am a Muslim and that I ask that our Imam from the center be contacted so that he can come and visit. Because otherwise, by the time the news reaches us, it may be too late in that sense. But the second thing is that if you're not a person who's really a comer to the masjid and people perhaps don't know you, understand that unfortunately one of the consequences of that is you may be very sick and nobody may even know. But if you were to actually still go to the hospital, do make it your business to let them know, so that this way we can know about you, we can come to visit you and other members of the community, and we can better help to serve you. Let's continue to the second part of the hadith, what the Prophet ﷺ was talking about. He says, "O zara akhun lahu fillah," or that he visits his brother for Allah's sake. And of course this is true with regards to sisterhood in the same sense. So when the Prophet ﷺ was talking about males, it doesn't exclude the females, except if it's something that explicitly makes it clear that it's specific for the males or specific for the females. So this is general. To visit your brother in Islam. This is something that was a normal practice, a normal sunnah of Allah's Messenger. May Allah's peace and blessings forever be upon him. And honestly, I can say that this is one of the things that is greatly being sacrificed in this day and age and time that we're living in. Visiting for the cause of Allah, for the sake of Allah, to visit your brother in Islam, it is something that has been so greatly constricted and confined that if there is hardly anything of visiting, it is nothing to where it needs to be. Allah Azza wa Jal through His Prophet ﷺ is telling us in this hadith that he visits his brother in Islam, and it is kept nakira, it is kept subhanallah, the grammatical terms right now have left me. Undefined, unspecific. Why? So that we can apply the practice of visiting the one that you know, as well as the one that you know less. The one that you're very familiar with, as well as the one who perhaps you only know the face, and perhaps may not even know the name. The one who is a long-time person within the community, as well as the one who is a newcomer to the community. The one who perhaps may have similarities with you of coming from the same ethnic, cultural background, as well as the one who may be on the totally opposite side of that spectrum. The one who perhaps maybe your wife is in a good relationship with them, or your husband is in a good relationship with them, as well as the one where there are no family relationships that would further motivate you to keep in touch with them. The one who perhaps has kids that your children may be friends with and associate with, etc., as well as the one who perhaps there may be no relationship even due to the children. The only way that we can really have a strong, healthy community is by seeking to build bonds with those of the people that you are well acquainted with, and to bring to the same level of relationship those that are far less acquainted and known and active, etc., within the masjid and within the community. We literally, in this hadith, are taught to go out of our way, to go outside of our routine, to even break the comfort zone that we have. Why? So that we can be from those who are blessed to have that caller. And who is this caller? Undoubtedly, it is an angel from Allah's angels that makes this special dua, and the prayer that he makes, that the angel makes, is because Allah is telling them that this is the reward. This is the special reward and blessing for the person who seeks to do one or even both of these things. And naturally, we should seek to do them based on what the circumstances are. We shouldn't limit ourselves to only visiting the sick, nor should we limit ourselves to not visit the sick but only visit those who are healthy of our brothers, but to be able to try to do both and to be as fair and as balanced as possible. That this angel calls out, making this special prayer and giving really that glad tidings to say to you, you have a promise of goodness. You have a promise of goodness, a blessing. And the steps that you make in this journey, the travel, the hardship, the inconvenience, whatever it entails, if you're going to visit the sick person and going to visit your brother or your sister in Islam, so that you can acquire that love that Allah will place in your hearts by spending time together, by better getting to know each other, by the families also getting to spend time together, and inshallah ta'ala coming to love each other, at the same time to mature so that we can overlook whatever shortcomings we may have within each other, that we can learn to still have and cherish the bonds of brotherhood despite the differences that we may have, the perhaps even the pet peeves that we may feel with regards to certain things of practices and so on and so forth, that despite all of these things, that we are able to overcome them, that we can see these as challenges, that we can overcome them by Allah's blessing, so that we can truly have a tight-knit community, that we can have a community of brothers and sisters in the way that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in that hadith, al-mu'minu yashuddu ba'duhum, al-mu'minuna yashuddu ba'duhum ba'da, that the believers, that they reinforce each other, that they help to support each other, that they complete each other. And they reinforce each other in the same way that he said when he explained by interlacing his fingers and showing that this is how two hands, when they come together and they interlace intimately, that you can have some serious strength and some unity and some power behind it. Blessings. And the hadith completes itself. And the Prophet ﷺ says that that angel then further says, and because of this, you deserve a house in paradise. And I want to once again call attention to paradise. When someone thinks of paradise, we need to think of the best that we can imagine in this world. Because it's simple when it says, وَتَبَوَّأْتَ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ مَنْزِلًا, may you have a house in paradise. You can select and get a house in paradise. That we don't think about maybe an apartment that we may be renting or living in, or perhaps a house that we may have in this world. Perhaps some of us who, mashallah, we may be blessed with $1 million houses and their, mashallah, mansions. Really, even in that sense, we should realize that no matter how beautiful your house may be in this world, so much so that even if you were to see on the front page of Yahoo or whatever the case is, these double-digit $1 million homes that are being sold in some of the most exclusive of areas within the United States and within the world, if we can imagine something like that, and say that this is something of what you could imagine of what Allah has prepared in paradise for the believers, to really get yourself psyched up to realize that even these multi-million-dollar palaces and mansions with the most manicured of lawns and landscapes and the most temperate of climates and temperatures, even they do not come close or even compare to what Allah has prepared in paradise. That's something that we should use to really further motivate and encourage us sincerely from the core of our hearts and souls, so that we can work towards having a true society, a community that is founded upon the love of Allah and His Messenger, and through the living of the teachings, living the teachings of the final Prophet, the Blessed Messenger of Allah, who has been sent as a mercy for us, so that we can be a mercy for each other, and ultimately receive and be the blessed recipients of Allah's mercy in this world, as well as in the hereafter. And I truly ask Allah, who is the most merciful, the bestower of mercy, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, that He place this mercy in our hearts for each other, so that we can genuinely love each other for Allah's sake, that we can be mature enough to overlook whatever we may have of pet peeves, of differences that would cause us to want to perhaps keep a distance, so that we can truly have our hearts united, and that we can truly live together as brothers and sisters in a way that Allah wants from us, in a way that Allah is well pleased with and loves, so that we can receive that most precious glad tidings and be the recipients of that most beautiful prayer. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. Wa salli Allahumma ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.